I'm not saying 3D is easier to get in. It's just as hard, and there are crazy good 3D artists out there. If you go up there, you feel like you basically walk into a military company because you have like chain book and all sort of stuff out researching. Anyway, that was how I started. And when I got the job, I actually the first person in terms of studio were officially title of the concept artist. Of those, how many are concept artists? I'm guessing the same number for IOM, no more than 30. Cannot be, right? It's just a very small number. I think campus, and at that point they start to get it into a few hundred. So nothing wrong with that, but it's just a need for very high level concept art wasn't around. And really, a lot of game companies who just create that way, and they make some great games that way as well. In terms of there was an official position, it just people draw, you drew really well, and you end up doing the design. And also back then, you don't publish your concept art. There was no internet to post anything to. But 20 years ago, this was a home of a lot of critics who create Ultima, so I was on the same floor as him, basically doing Ultima online. And then it also the home of Chris Robert, who is currently, of course, making Star Citizen. But back then, he was your creator of Wing Commander and happened to be the last Wing Commander called Wing Commander Prophecy. And then upstairs from us was very small division, make cool game by most of the guys probably never heard of them. Because prior to this, right, this is 1997, 98, 3D wasn't even around yet, barely. You had like Tomb Raider, just a handful of games that were in 3D. Most games were still in a 2D development cycle, so a lot of as ever done in terms of concept design, which is like, hey, you designer, you get really okay, you draw really well, okay, design this thing. Oh, you're an artist that do the tile, you draw really well, okay, just draw some of the creatures. And really, a lot of game companies who just create that way, and they make up some great games that way as well. In terms of there was an official position, it just people draw, you draw really well, and you end up doing the design. And also back then, you don't publish your concept art. There was no interest, internet was anything to. Thank you, but to take a break a bit. Alright, so that is set up in terms of why I'm doing that episode. Let's go back in history and talk about concept design 20 years ago. So when I started out, my first job was Rodent System. This is a studio was about 300 to 400 people. You're an artist that do the tile, you draw really well. I mean, in Wing Commander, we're looking at a spaceship no more than I think 200 to 300 polygons. Interesting. Which you really want to become a concept artist, your job will sit there, draw, design, and try to give company as much as possible. That nowadays, that lies one teeth in the characters. I think the character tongue in video game now has probably 10,000 polygons, so we're talking about 250 polygons of an entire spaceship. There wasn't photorealism or none of that kind of stuff. So getting in back then was very, so you really choose this career, something you love doing. But now, fast forward 10 years, concept art has become very mainstream, so many kids now want to get in. And that created a situation in which you had the prototype, not professional, really cool stuff. And then upstairs from us were a very small division, make cool game by most of the guys, you probably never heard of them. Most studios were just using whoever dropped best to do that job. And they get a lot of young kids who want to become them, but they're know very little about what the concept art is. And the small percentage of that is pursuing this job simply because it seems like the easiest way in a tiny little space. I think campus, and at that point, they start to get it into a few hundred. Some of my friends over there, they like, do you even know who next door? They go down the hall and you don't know who that person is. And every week, more people join in that concept art of our number by 3 artists. So when you look at the odds like that, even though the job itself look really fun, the odds of you getting in is actually quite low. You could be extremely good at what you do, but simply there wasn't enough position open.